Yes, if we're looking at a performance dynamic, we need to look at both sides of that coin. We need to look at the cognitive, the ability, but also we need to understand them from a human level, the relationship. Because if we can enhance that relationship on that personal side, when your numbers need work, your people are going to be the ones who help save those.
Welcome to the CultureStoke podcast, where happier people lead to better results.
All right, we are here again, CultureStoke Studio, episode 3 of the goods and the happy times.
The good vibes.
The good vibes. Exactly. Well, we always got good vibes. Always. So I'm here again with the co-founders of CultureStoke, where happier people equal
better results.
It's going to get more and more cheesy the way I do it. Happier people, better results. And we're here and we're just going to start talking about lots of things. But last week, or whatever time frame, we're going to release these things, we talked about hiring. And we kind of did this basic overview of the 5 Fs. And Marty, do you want to just give us a quick overview? 5 Fs, what are they? Why are they important?
5 Fs, they are important to be able to clearly articulate why your company would be a better place to work or would be a great place to work compared to a competitor down the street. This is a way to be able to attract talent, to really position you top of mind as an employer of choice.
Okay.
And so the first kind of rung on the 5 Fs is around fit. Let's really articulate what makes this job potentially fit for the right candidate.
And how yoked someone is to the fit.
When it comes to skills.
This shirt does not fit.
So you have very much wanted to describe the fit of the role, the fit of the culture, the fit of the value fit, to really be very polarizing actually, because you want, just very much like a magnet, you want to be able to attract the right talent, but also simultaneously repel the wrong. Be gone.
Yes.
And so that's very clear. That's step number 1. Step number 2, you have to highlight your compensation. So your fortune is the second F. Salary, benefits, cash money, perks, all the things that people get as a result of being a part of the team. But then you want to elevate beyond the fit and
get
fortune.
creative.
You have to be able to.
We talked about like dry cleaners and, car detailing and
absolutely.
Give
back.
Maybe pizza parties.
And if you can partner with the local community, like how much better to support local?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Think about wellness.
Do you think Gen Z would like that? Yes. Millennials.
Hey, rising tide lifts
we love
all boats.
Purpose.
Yeah. So the third F is around freedom. And the freedom of location, the freedom of time, the level of autonomy that exists within the role. But hey, you might have a position where you need to hire somebody in office at a particular location consistently. They need to show up and be present to do their work. Not to say advocate that all jobs should go remote or hybrid, but you can provide at least very clear opportunity. Hey, there's stability. In terms of where and how you might do your work to a degree. But if you have to have people present, the opportunity to flex into that freedom is on that other side of the how.
Right.
So, freedom. And then also the time freedom that might exist. So if you do have to have somebody who's there consistently at a particular time, do they have the opportunity to maybe take an hour or two to go see their child achieve an award at a school assembly, or to be able to take a couple hours off.
You will be here.
Take a couple hours off to go to the doctor to take care of themselves. So there's just different considerations there. And then fourth, you want to very much think about what is the type of future does this opportunity provide somebody. So a great opportunity to really provide opportunities for people to grow beyond their role. Look for opportunities that they can grow within their career, but even more so grow as a human. So the opportunity that you might actually have as an employer to not only send people to industry-related conferences, but also maybe invest in their leadership development. There are ways that you can maybe provide books, bring a book library into the office where you check out books or provide incentives for people to read them. It's something that we did at Advantage, which was really awesome. But then to that degree of where people can now see this opportunity to grow as a result of being a part of the company, but also the fifth kind of rung is like, what are the elements that infuse joy when it comes to fun in the office place?
My second favorite F word. Food's the first. Bro.
Perfect.
Don't make it weird.
Okay. Fun. Joy.
Yes.
Good
So hey,
times.
just because
Good
vibes. Just because we're working hard doesn't mean we can't have some elements of, dare I say, play in the workplace.
Yeah, baby.
Because what's actually
What?
your productivity will
playing.
improve while you're having fun.
Is that true? Is there stats?
I'm not
Tell
sure
me.
if there's a statistic,
bet
but
you
I will
there
say
is.
that if we're looking
Someone
at
made it
like
up.
the top in the kind of the recognized best places to work, there's always an effort to be able to prioritize joy outside of the actual work that's getting done. Whether it's through
Facts.
team events or
Right.
maybe experiences, celebrations when it comes to maybe service anniversaries or maybe birthdays or life events. These are things that, again, you might be able to offer and deliver upon as an employer that are going to significantly differentiate you from somebody else down the street.
Right. Nice. Yeah.
I mean, it's really one of the ways that we overcomplicate the employee-employer relationship, right? We put this veneer of professionalism over it, and we want to make the assumption that people aren't people when they come to work.
right.
Like the leave your baggage at the door if you're having a bad day. Like, this is a place of business, no feelings. You come
No
in.
feelings.
We can't have fun here. We've got money to be made.
Be a thermostat, not a thermometer.
Yeah, I mean, it
Come
honestly,
in with it, which is, there's
it
some.
honestly is that way. But again, I think it's the overcomplication of the employee-employer relationship. We don't, and it starts at the hiring and in the interview process. We create this almost combative relationship dynamic when it's like, hey, prove yourself to me.
What is your tie Versace?
Yeah,
No.
it's not disgusting.
You're done.
Get out. What are
Be
you
gone.
doing? I mean, without looking at like this person, like as a business owner, I'm asking this person to spend arguably their most valuable resource, their time,
Right.
to come and work for me. And yet, when it comes to compensation, instead of just standing on, this is how much I value this position, this is what I'm willing to pay, which we talked about having salary ranges last time.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, we're going to be very cagey about how much we're willing to pay for this. And it's like, now it's become this,
Like, hold on.
This negotiation.
The range is between $50,000 and $150,000
And it's
based on your ska
right. And
and your
Skill,
folk
knowledge, and abilities.
but when we think about it, we start off this relationship, because that's what it is. The employee-employee relationship. There are very few differences between your employee-employer relationship and any other relationship you have in your life. And we started off with a negotiation about how much we're willing to give each other, right? Like, organizations are trying to pay the least amount of money for the most amount of value. And people are trying to get the most amount of money to be, or that they possibly can. It's a very, and then we'll haggle over this. The business is like, I'll give you $80,000, and you're like, well, I would like 82.
I would like 82.
Well, I will give you 81.5.
It's like the price is right.
And an extra PT day.
Yeah. And we wonder why the second that we ask people to come in and they become fully contributing members of the organization,
right?
We start to ask them to do more things, and all of a sudden they want more money. It's like, well, you set the relationship.
You've done this yourself.
You set the relationship dynamic as this transactional thing. I'm going to pay you X to do this thing. Now I want you to do more things. Well, you set the stage. Doesn't that mean that I get more things?
Well, and so seldom is I don't know, you guys probably know better, but very seldom is someone who's doing the extra work actually even demanding it at that point, even, or is it, am I wrong?
I'd say that oftentimes people, particularly who are good or have their own unique ability around the particular
some sort of thing
that they deliver upon for an organization, there's two sides of the coin. Where one, it's like, hey, I want my work to almost be a signature representation of what I can deliver, what I can produce. So there's a bit of a pride side that comes from like delivering and doing a good job.
I mean, yeah, rightfully so.
And intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then there's the kind of the other side of that is that, hey, because this might be something that I'm good at or have the skills, because it comes maybe a little easier to me, maybe it comes just as easy for somebody else.
Oh, okay.
And so internally, we can have our own kind of stories that we tell ourselves about if we're producing at a high level. Well, this is kind of just
this is like homeostasis for me. Like, this is just my standard.
It could, yeah.
Or it could
like,
be,
yeah,
could be,
hey,
yeah.
this is my individual standard of excellence. I want to be able to uphold it.
Right.
But there's also that degree of where oftentimes there's within the leadership kind of employee relationship, it's like, okay, you hit this quota. Now we want to increase it, and we want you to hit this one. And we want you to keep going and going and going. And so in order to do that, there needs to be an opportunity for people to be able to stretch and grow within that capacity. But that's where I think where businesses tend to get hung up. Yes, we want more of our people, but in order to do that, you need to teach them, you need to grow them, but you should also compensate them as well.
Accordingly.
And I think that's where what your point, Wes, around like that kind of that combative type of relationship, like, hey, you're holding cards. Here's the carrot. We want to be able to get more out of you. But it then is up to the individual to be like, do I want to give that extra effort to do it? Or would I rather just go do what I'm doing and
answer that recruiter on LinkedIn who's like, you know what? Well, and I think I'm hearing like a few things back to even past episodes. We talked about the kind of generational dynamic shift from the 50s to 60s where people were an asset and now they're a resource. And again, so it's almost like all of these little pieces equal a transaction, not just, hey, like, you're a human. Like, let's just approach that on a human level, not just what's the bottom line? How do I get the most out of, how do I extract the most out of this person and, get whatever I can out of them? And that even comes down to just, the dynamic of that start, the employee hiring process and the leadership that goes into that. So yeah, I don't know. Speak to that, Wes. What are your thoughts, man?
I mean, we talk about it in our workshops a lot. It was a bit of a organic growth, but we started to teach these hiring workshops and using the metaphor, the analogy of just a romantic relationship. You start off with the court. You have your dating profile, LinkedIn or whatever.
Yes, there you go.
And somebody swipes right or left. I've never actually been on Tinder.
Is it left or right?
Is it left or right?
I don't know. We're all happily married.
Put it in the comments.
Tell
Is
me
it left
now.
or right? But somebody swipes in a certain direction for you.
In an ambiguous place.
Somebody swipes in the affirmative, and they bring you in, for an interview.
Yeah.
And they start to, but I mean, think about it. Even in the traditional interview, it's pretty one-sided. So tell me about you.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. What skills, knowledge, and abilities do you have? Well, if you were encountered with this problem or this situation,
Yes.
what would you do about it?
Do you like folk music?
I mean, it even starts off weird. It's like, I've got, and please stop asking people to tell you about their experience. You have their resume. Why are you making me regurgitate the things that I put in my application and my resume? Also unrelated, stop with cover letters. Just going to throw that out there. Right, Marty? I mean, it's a weird dynamic that we start.
Why is this
personally, I think we can ask for information, but the purpose of a cover letter should be to introduce somebody, to describe a little bit about why they're interested in employing.
Right.
And if you want to know that, just ask it. As opposed to like, hey, include your cover letter. No, just tell me why you're interested in joining.
Yeah.
What makes you most excited about the work that you do, and how do you think you might be able to contribute to the success of the company?
So at the end of the day,
simple
it's like
questions.
Instead of an interview, there's this. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump there. But the idea is that instead of you start to create a dialogue as opposed to this one-sided conversation.
That's where I was going with it. Yeah.
And you have to be, for any type of relationship to work. And to the point of like, this is very much almost like a dating type relationship. Yeah. As it gets deeper into the conversation, which it very much should be a conversation, needs to be two-way and dynamic. as you progress beyond kind of the initial, hey, I'm going to put in my application, express interest. Now there's going to be an opportunity to connect with one another. But let's first get to understand
let's take it slow.
But let's look at all the various aspects. Yeah, career history is important. You could ask about that. But I believe the questions that need to be elevated as opposed to kind of one-sided closed type, single one-sided closed type answers.
Right.
Can't think of the right words, but keep it open-ended. Like, what are the things? Tell me about this position, what you did, where you did it, type of results. But what did you learn? What were some of your greatest successes? What were some of the challenges? Right. What were the dynamics here at play? And what you can do by asking those types of questions, and which is the most important part of the interview process, is to understand how somebody might think, how they might approach situations. Right. What are the types of, what is their proven past performance, but what is the possibilities and likelihood of them to be successful within this role.
And I mean, I think the funny thing is like, so be a basic human person. You said dialogue, and that's the first, like you mentioned, it's one-sided. A dialogue, it inherently, there's reciprocity.
Yeah.
So if someone says like, oh man, I was in this job and I did, as a leader, as the interviewer, engage. Oh dude, you know what? Yeah. I had a job back in the day, blah, blah. It's like, just talk with the person. Yeah. Be a human. Let's get rid of these weird veneers and, formalities.
It is one of those moments where it's like, it feels weird to say this out loud.
It does.
Right. This is a human being. Like and this is what I mean by we overcomplicate it. We think that we have to show up in this fundamentally different manner. Even when it comes to, I've had clients in the past that are like, I'm having trouble with this employee. I'm having conflict with this employee and I don't know how to approach it. And I'm like, well, if they were your neighbor, how would you approach it? Well, I'd probably start off by talking with them. Sounds like a really good idea.
What a novel idea.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good idea. Why don't you start there?
Yeah, start there.
Because and this is why one of our values at CultureStoke is people first.
Yeah.
And that's not people first in the, in the general sense. That's literally in every decision that we make, every single thing that we approach, every program that we launch, we're going to think about the people first.
Yeah.
And if you approach your hiring that way and you approach it with like, I want to get to know the person first, not the worker. Mm-hmm. That's really where you're going to set yourself up for longevity, right? Because if you set it up specifically on that transactional nature that we've alluded to, this is where people are going to assume that other people are going to have that same transactional nature. And the important part, the paradigm shifting for organizations right now is that you want to be, you need to take some time to sell yourself, just like you would in a dating relationship.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that you're bringing to the table?
Yeah.
Not just a paycheck, because everybody's by law got to provide a paycheck. Right? By law. That's the floor, not the ceiling. So when we think about this employee-employee relationship, it really should be a long-standing commitment. You're asking this person to invest. Remember, episode 1, half of their life,
conscious life,
half of their conscious life at this place. If you just, think about if we did this in the dating relationship. It's like, can you play pickleball?
Let's mock it.
Can you play pickleball? Can you?
I have a killer serve.
Can you barbecue well?
130 degrees.
Do you keep your bathroom relatively clean? If it was all transactional like that, it would be very odd relationships. But like, people are messy.
Well, you could almost argue. I suppose it is a relationship, but it's hardly a human relationship.
But it should be, and it could be a human relationship.
No, it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. But also the fact where I think if we were to like zoom up and look at this from a greater perspective and distance, some of these employer-employee relationships last longer than some marriages, last longer than some very important, intimate relationships.
Right.
But do we take the time and energy to invest in getting to know if this is the right person for this role, whether it's here at this organization, here within that, not only in the organization, but here in this specific job, and do they have the ability to do the job well now, but the ability to be the right fit 2 to 3 years or beyond here.
So why did this happen? Like at what point, I know historically, but seriously, like
Please, why did this happen?
I saw your face like as I was saying it, you're like, why God, why?
I honestly,
but really, why?
I honestly
how
think
did we
it
go?
happened when we started putting profits over people. We
Okay.
started to look at it. It's like the goal of an organization is to make money,
Shareholder value.
shareholder value. Those types of value propositions started to draw. And Daniel Pink in his book Drive, which we talked about,
we talked about last week.
and he said
last episode.
one of his lines that he said, and at least in his TED talk that I watched, was when the profit motive gets unmoored from the purpose motive, that's when bad stuff happens.
Okay.
And so when did it start? I think it started when we unmoored the purpose and profit motive. It's not bad to want to make a profit.
No, you should.
It's great to
Right.
want to make a profit in the service of like your greater purpose. Your greater purpose is not to make money. We're not a bunch of like I always refer to Rockefeller's
Yeah.
quote when a news person or a biographer, I don't remember, asked him how much money is enough money, and his answer was just a little bit more.
Yeah. Just a
And
little
if
more.
that is if you're just going to Scrooge
the
McDuck
wealthiest.
yourself, the whole, he was the wealthiest person on the planet at that time. Like,
Yeah.
how much money is enough money? Just a little bit more. And if that's your driving thing, then all of a sudden people just become one stepping stone on the way to making more and more and more and more profit.
Right.
And so when did it happen? It happened when we stopped acknowledging that the people who do the work have lives outside of those front doors.
Right.
The people who do the work have goals and ambitions and things that they want to do with their life.
Right.
And we started to really take for granted the fact that their time is just as valuable as your organization's time.
Yowza.
I mean,
I hear. Well, and I think again, there kind of comes back to that transactional versus relational dynamic. If there's not reciprocity in this, and
picture
if it's just
any
what can
relationship.
you do for me,
Picture any relationship in your life that there has not been reciprocity.
there has to be.
What happens to those relationships when you don't have reciprocity?
They dissolve.
They go away. Yeah. Well, and then you have a situation like we do now, where 51% of people are, considering leaving their job.
Yeah, they're looking for a better
Because they're
partner.
like, I want. Yeah.
It's-
No, you're not right. It's just. But you know what's funny? Even my chuckle there is a response to like, this is a little even cognitive dissonance for my brain to hear, because we just don't think of it this way. We do not think of my job, my relationship with the employer as
An actual relationship?
yeah. It's like, no, it's something I get through, not something I get to do, And so
We look at it like any other business transaction.
We've
It's-
been conditioned and taught that is the way that you need to view this,
Right.
almost for me as like a potential perspective, like coping mechanism to do something where there's a difference between having a job and having a vocation. A vocation is something that you do that provides and sustains, but also I would hope that's something that you enjoy, something that you, to your point earlier, Wes, about what are the things that people that really drive individuals that have this type of purpose, that have some autonomy, to have some mastery within the skills, something that you enjoy doing, because you're never going to get better at something that you hate doing.
yeah.
Where a job is something that you do for the sole purpose of making money. And so, reason that advances of technology have been so vast over the last couple of decades that less and as mechanization, as technology has increased, it's required less people. You can do significantly more today in an organization with a significantly lower headcount
Less amount of
than
people.
probably ever before, and rapidly accelerating to that point. But a job is something, jobs are still going to exist because there's going to be dirty work out there that other people don't want to do. And the only way to get
gotta be
it
done.
done is to pay somebody for it.
Right.
And
Well, and the irony too is that people will always be necessary because we crave relationship. We crave to interact with humans, even just with the surgence of AI. At the end of the day, I mean, I watched a video the other day. They can actually, there's humans, you can just tell. You do an AI voice and a real voice, the same thing. And most people can delineate, like, nah, that's just not that's not human. There's something there. And so I think there's something intrinsic about our being that just craves connection. And when we talked about even the pandemic and what that did for us, you guys, I don't know if someone coined it, but it wasn't the Great Recession. It was actually the Great, what did you guys call it?
Great Reflection.
The Great Reflection, you know? And so, yeah, that's crazy.
And just to your point around like
Piggyback
100%. When it comes
get on, baby.
to the fact that it is a deep relationship, if you even look at the hiring and recruiting process, to Wes's point, yes, like this is very much almost like a dating relationship. You want to drive it that much further. The dating relationship happens in the recruiting and interviewing process. We're getting to know each other. Then, hey, we're getting, as your experience.
Things are getting serious.
Yeah, it's involved. It's like, oh, wow, I had a phone screen.
Hey
that didn't
there.
work. Now we're having a one-on-one interview.
Ooh.
Now I'm coming in for maybe a job preview or to meet the team and have a panel interview with others. And okay, this is serious. We can see myself working here. I want to be a part of this team. I like the people. I like this type of work, and I'm excited about the possibilities. Okay, now here comes the proposal. Here's like, you want to put a ring on it. Here's the offer. Here's the offer, and then if there is that acceptance of that offer, then the onboarding process is like the honeymoon. This is where you really, okay, you said I do. Yes. Okay, now we're getting our kind of combining our lives to a degree. And that's when does the expectations meet the reality, which have been set up.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's an interesting book called The Power of Moments, and they talk about even just that first, you mentioned that onboarding is the honeymoon, and making that even significant in the process of, and we kind of build it up even relationally. It's like honeymoon, there's amazing things that happen there. And then, it becomes.
This is to take it to the practical side of what can you do a little differently. This is where I find organizations do too much to hide their crazy. To take it to the back to the relationship. I mean, we've all heard that term and maybe experienced a time in our life where someone hit a little bit of their crazy. As if you hire this person and during the onboarding phase, they're not going to notice that all the things you told them that was going to be great about working here aren't actually there. I mean, this is really where the trust container gets built. And so one of the things that we encourage organizations to do is just be honest with where you're at, where you'd like to be, and be clear about why people should want to work for you. Not in fantasy land, though. Don't hide your crazy. Hey, we have some struggles here. Here's some of the be open and honest with some of the things that we struggle with. Like, tell me how you would address that. What would your ideas? We're interested in people coming in and helping us to close some of these gaps. What do you think? Is a great interview question, because you're going to get a sense of what that person wants to do. But if you try to, during the interview process, you're like, let me tell you about how great we are here at Acme Corporation. All of these things are going to be great. And then the second you walk in the door, do you really think that your people, unless it's true, in which case, awesome. Peacock yourself. I'm big on peacocking results. Talk about how awesome you are in the things that you're awesome
If it's actually true.
If it's true.
Yes.
Right.
Because if you don't think for one hot second, the minute that that new person walks in and the boss leaves the room, if your people aren't going like, now listen, I know. Let me tell you. Okay. I know what they told you. I know what they told you.
Don't believe it.
The full bit. Don't you say that?
What is that?
Billy Madison.
It's exactly what it is, though.
I mean, if you think for one hot second that your people are like, look, I know what they told you.
Because literally their loyalty, if at any, is the only thing that's keeping them there is the fact that you pay them. And 51% of them are considering.
Yeah, by the way, miss me all the way with that loyalty talk. Like, these people went and found a job. They're being disloyal.
How dare you?
No, if you set up the relationship based on a transaction and then someone swooped in with a higher paycheck. I'm sorry. Like,
no one's fault, but
you set that dynamic. Again, people are probably going to leave. The average 10 years, 4 years, people are going to leave. Your goal is to make it a hard decision to leave.
Right. Make it hard.
And then celebrate them
Make
when
it
they
hard.
go. Like, hey, we wish you the best.
Yeah. Well, and even just the irony of I just was thinking of we as businesses, we demand that people give them 2 weeks notice, but you could fire them on a Friday. And probably most firings happen on a Friday is my guess, because it's like, oh, well, it's a little better of a day of the week.
Well, at least according to the Bobs.
Okay, well, according to the Bob. Did you get the TPS
What
report?
is it that you do here?
But really, it's like how even such simple problems and mistakes, really, this is a mistake that we've made as businesses, is that we've made this so transactional because profits are greater than people.
And then we get upset when people treat it like a transaction.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then we're like, and even again, we get mad that they don't put in 2 weeks. It's like, well, you're supposed to give us 2 weeks to prepare for your departure. And it's like, well, but you just fired Billy last Friday and he literally had no idea it was happening. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
There's leaves, again, gross. A lot of room for improvement and looking at the general bell curve of business. There are some organizations.
Let's talk about those improvements. What are the opportunities here, boys? Tell us.
The opportunities Wes very much spoke into, like, let's be very honest with one another, because in any relationship, if honesty is not present, what foundation are you building upon? And so I love the fact that, hey, yes, there may be things that are really important here that we need, that are requirements rather than requests. Be very clear about those.
Yeah.
Be clear about the things that are great, but also be clear about these are the things that we have opportunity to improve.
Yeah.
Because if we're honest with ourselves, even just hey, there's things about me that I want to improve.
Yeah.
There's things about any organization that I want to be able to get better, or hey, because if we have we're aiming to achieve these types of results, what we do is important, but even more important is how we do things.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not only our behavior that's going to get us there, but if we don't have trust,
right,
how we are going to act and behave can be compromised.
At every level.
At every level.
Yeah.
Because if we're just focusing on this is what we want, then any route can get us there.
Right.
And there's that big difference between having the job done versus a job that's done well.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And hit it. I see that, Rach.
Hey, get that fly out of here.
Whiteboard session approaching.
Well, Marty just hit on something that I think organization, we use that T word, trust, a whole heck of a lot. And one of the next kind of practical thing I think that organizations can do is really lean into the fact that if you want good results, don't mind my handwriting or my drawing skills. My mom was a doctor, and the only thing I inherited from her was terrible handwriting. So, but don't worry, we're going to walk through it. So if you want these results, right? Results, I think, built on the foundation of trust. So how do you get trust in a workplace, right? You have your cognitive trust, which is trust that people can do the work. That when they said their skills, knowledge, and abilities were going to be X, Y, and Z, they're actually able to deliver on that. Right. Or, and this is a big one, or they show the potential to learn.
Yeah.
I had many people that took shots on me in my life because I did not have the requisite skills, knowledge, and ability, but what I demonstrated was a genuine willingness to learn and grow.
And be teachable and be susceptible to.
Be open to it.
Yeah.
So there is that piece of it. Do I really need a person that knows all these things, or do I need a person who's actually hungry to learn this stuff? But that's cognitive trust. And typically we're pretty good about giving that. We're pretty good about lending a little bit of leeway of like, hey, you know what? You said you're willing to do this. Okay.
Your past performance demonstrates this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You could probably,
you could probably
improve
do
whatever. Yeah.
But the other pillar is that relational trust.
Okay.
And this relational trust, and this goes back to the employee-employer relationship of what you actually need. Right? You need shared and aligned values, reciprocal appreciation and gratitude, etc. Effective communication, the things that all great relationships are built on.
Right.
But relational trust in the workplace is the trust that I, as the employee, have in you that you have my best interest in mind?
Mm-hmm.
Have you made investments into that relational piggy bank
Pennies.
that I know, hey, when I'm down, when I'm having a bad day, when I'm having a bad week, when I'm having a bad month, the whole acknowledgement that people are people and that sometimes we're not going to be able to perform at our best.
Right.
Is my boss going to come and talk to me about productivity?
You
and
were
how
5 minutes late.
Yeah, and how I've been late and I've been looking a little raggedy at work, etc. Or are they going to open up with, "Hey, is everything cool?
You all right?
Yeah. Tell me how
Be
you
a
are."
human again.
Yeah.
It's
That's
the name of this episode.
It feels weird to say it out loud. Like,
Wait.
just be a person. Don't mind that.
Well, no, we're gonna keep talking about that.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that if you want to be real and be a person, start to make investments into that relational piggy bank. Because if you don't, you will only have one side of that trust, and that's that transactional side. Can you do the thing that I'm paying you to do?
Yeah.
Right, Marty?
100%. And it was really interesting. As a young leader, I struggled with that quite a bit. I very much thought that, hey, results only. That's what's most important. So oftentimes we're having conversations with individuals about their performance and what they could do differently or better that fell quite a bit flat.
Yeah.
And I had another leader, Bob, who took a much different approach where, hey, he had conversations and talked with people about the results. He's like, okay, I know you had to talk with this individual. Let me have a chance to kind of understand. Yeah. And Bob was really phenomenal with taking the extra time to know people beyond the job. Be like, oh, I had this conversation with this employee. We did see a little bit of a slip in their metrics. And one of the reasons why that is they're going through X, Y, and Z personally that we collectively as an organization had no idea.
And that's a variable that's worthy of considering when it comes to someone's performance or results or whatever.
100%.
Which gets people over profit.
Again, because, and so is and thought, okay, you got this bit of insight. So what do we do from here? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give this person a little extra time. We're going to adjust their schedule. We're going to give them an extra. We're going to let them head out 45 minutes
take Friday
early
off,
for the next couple of weeks so that they can handle this situation with someone that they're caring for. And we're going to continue to pay them their regular salary. And
don't worry about it. They don't have to wonder, we're
going to see what
my job on the line,
and we'll reconnect in about a month and see what happens. Well, it's not only connected within a month, but within a week, that person's performance started to improve significantly. The way that they were able to show up, even the stress that they were exhibiting within the workplace, decreased quite a bit. And not only did this individual bring their numbers back up, but they exceeded numbers. And they stayed long term with this company. It was actually one of the most key employees of this firm. That brought a significant amount of value and results. But had that conversation gone significantly different and I upheld it, but hey, we need to adjust this. I need you to be doing these things without this relational component. That person would have been much closer out the door. And that was actually kind of the reason why Bob stepped in to begin with, because he's like, see what's going on. We need to do things a bit differently here. And so that was my learning to be like, hey, yes, if we're looking at a performance dynamic, we need to look at both sides of that coin. We need to look at the cognitive, the ability, but also we need to understand them from a human level, the relationship. Because if we can enhance that relationship on that personal side, when your numbers need work, your people are going to be the one who's helped save those. And not the other way around.
That's that reciprocal appreciation. The acknowledgement that people are not going to be a top performer 110% at all times. I mean,
if they are, they're on the path to burnout, or something.
I mean, literally there is just human nature. We're going to be variably productive based on things that are outside of our sphere of control. My kid stayed up on, and it goes back to that kind of just be a human thing that seems to be the theme for today.
It really is.
If we just humanize our workplaces a little bit, have a little bit of empathy. And by the way, if if these words like, relational trust and empathy and be a human are making you feel weird when you hear them, I would encourage you to lean in and say, like, what about this conversation is making me uncomfortable? But to Marty's point,
that's great.
Doing these things are going to lead to better results.
End of the day, yeah.
At the I don't want that to be your motive. Like, I don't want you to do that. Like, this is the idea of like, well, I'm gonna do nice things for people because karma says that I'm gonna get good. No, you do nice things. You're there for people. You support people in your life, with the understanding that hopefully when you need help, they'll be there for you. But you do it because it's the right thing to do. However, if that doesn't spark joy for you, if that does not spark joy for you, shout out Marie Kondo.
Yeah.
If that doesn't, to Marty's point, that person came back with just a desire to do more because you showed them in their time of need, hey, I got you.
Yeah.
And also was one of the first people to ever volunteer if the company needed some extra help.
Something. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, the hard thing too, for a lot of, because even as you were talking, I'm just thinking through my own experiences and having been through different businesses and organizations and nonprofits where usually the first thought when, if someone's going through something, I imagine people even listening now are thinking to themselves, like what you said, I get that. I understand, but we're still paying them, right? So there's that part where I think instead of compartmentalizing this is that they're just something that gives, that we have to get from them. And, but there's also this human, how can a leader and, managers, whoever is listening to this, who might find some cognitive dissonance occurring right now. It's like, oh, I get what you're saying. I understand the empathy.
Sounds like a really good idea, but
yeah, how do we address the butts in the room?
Totally.
Like,
and I like big butts.
Yeah. How do we address the big butts in the room? Because, and I know you touched on it and you did too, but I still think that this is such a cognitive dissonance. I even laughed at Marty when he talked about, I was like, oh. That was just
Richard, but for real though.
Yeah, it really is, And so even me who understands this on a basic human level, still there's some of those paradigms that we just societally need to shift. So yeah, how do we address the butts?
Yeah, instead of looking at those things as a cost, very much look at them as an investment.
There we go.
Something that can be grown.
There we go.
Something that can not only yield, hey, you might have a little bit of short-term kind of pain or a little something that might be uncomfortable now, but this can grow in
exponentially more. If you look at it as like in a temporary pain, it's like an investment of pain, but it creates dividends, which again, I know you said, hey, hopefully you just address this human, but I love that. What did you say? You said, instead of looking at it as
a cost, you want to consider it as an investment.
An investment.
Yeah. Well, and I think that,
I love that.
At the end of the tenure, right, when the person says, hey, I'm moving on to other pastures, I won't say greener, but just other pastures, other opportunities, that's going to happen. But if you've spent time investing in this and you've made it a difficult decision for people to leave, guess what they're going to do? They're going to spend a lot of time, effort, and energy trying to replace themselves with somebody that they think is worthy.
Yeah.
They're going, like, if you do those things, if you do if you make those investments and you look at your people as an asset to be invested in,
right,
when they leave, they're going to say, I'm so pissed that I have to leave this place for X, Y, and Z reason. But I called my friend. I think they're going to be great. They're looking for a new position. Here's their resume. They're going to become your recruiting department. I think we mentioned that in another episode. If your people aren't actively recruiting for you when you have openings, like
it's a first sign.
It's a bit of an indicator that there's some opportunity.
Yeah, it could be an indicator. But another one is at the end of the tenure, if they're looking to replace themselves with somebody and they're like, this person's going to be great for you.
Yeah. This
person's going to be really good. That's when you know, okay, I'm doing the right things. And but it does take that shift and kind of the connecting. And you use the term cognitive dissonance to close that gap. It really does take the understanding that while your business is meant to, exist to achieve a purpose, and part of that is to be profitable, your profit comes from your product and or services, but the quality and the depth of those are going to come from the people who deliver that.
Yeah.
And so if you take time, effort, and energy in just as simple as checking in with people on a human level,
Yeah.
spending quality time, I don't know, just like you would in any other deep and meaningful relationship that you have in your life.
Right.
If you do the thing, if there's conflict and tension in it, you don't ignore it. If a person's having a bad day, could you imagine if you had a friend, like you're having a bad day and your friend goes, hey, we're hanging out right now. You need to check that at the door.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is my time. We were supposed to be having coffee and you're over here with the boo-hoos. that relationship would end very quickly.
Oh, it wouldn't have never started.
And yet that's how we treat our business relationships.
That's a great
It's this very one-sided or almost tug-of-war type of relationship where it's, my time, your money.
Right.
You don't care about me. So guess what?
I don't care about you.
I don't care about you. And then when people are leaving or we're having a hard time hiring or people are not happy or they're not satisfied or they're not performing up to the standard that we want, we scratch our heads and go, what's going on here? I would ask you, have you asked your folks? Have that conversation. Hey, I've noticed that your attitude or your energy is a little off.
Yeah, what up?
What's up?
Yeah.
Tell me. Yeah. And be openly willing to get that feedback. Because if you're not listening to your people, you're not listening to a very important partner in your life. And however you want to define that, you're not. And if you're not listening to them, or you're taking for granted their thoughts and opinions, or you're taking for granted their feedback about how things are going, they're going to treat you like anybody else in your life that you would take for granted.
Right. Yeah.
Means to an end until I can go get my ends somewhere else.
Jeez. So, I mean, we're kind of wrapping up the episode here, but let's just kind of summarize some of these key points, right? So wrap it up. So, I mean, we talked about the 5 Fs. Last episode, we kind of recapped today. I'm actually kind of curious, and you guys can give maybe, I keep saying lightning round, but it's like, there's no such thing in this.
This is like the longest lightning bolt you've ever. Slow motion lightning bolt.
At the end. I think what I'm hearing us all say, and I think it's not just us saying you should do this, because at the end of the day,
we're not saying that.
Well,
the employee statistics about the current condition of the employment
I'm trying to dissociate
market.
our voice from the fact that this is not. We're just articulating what everyone's already saying and feeling, or feeling at minimum. Yeah. Saying in a lot of ways and demanding, in the months and years to come. And so,
and it's only going to get louder.
Way louder, dude, way louder. Yeah. And so I think at the end of the day, be a human person. Like, this is a relationship. This is a committed long-term relationship.
Hopefully.
If that's too touchy-feely for you, check yourself. I mean, I will say that back again. Wes mentioned that. It's worth repeating. If there's something that feels like, oh, I don't like that, instead of just immediately rejecting that feeling, push into that. Like, okay, why and I've always had a rule of like, if I hear something and it makes me deeply uncomfortable,
it's a you problem.
It's the first thing that I'm going to ask myself is why don't I like that? That bothers me.
Yeah.
What is, and not like you said something wrong that makes me uncomfortable, but what is the thing that I can glean from this that's going to help make things better? And so, any
lightning round, Marty.
Lightning rounds. Yeah. Any last thoughts around any of the things we talked about? Be a human, 5 Fs, benefits, all the good stuff.
More than anything, take the time out of your day to invest in your people. And it doesn't have to be long. And it maybe doesn't even have to be, let's shift to the word invest, to like just connect with your people.
Come on.
Because presence, connection is where trust begins. And once trust is fostered, then a relationship can be built with intention. Yeah. Because if you were to, can you imagine if you didn't say thank you to your wife for the things and the incredible things that she does in your day in and day out, and you just, that's your reward for doing the things is right here. You have the ring, you have the paycheck. What type of experience would that be? And would that be a healthy dynamic or not? But so just take the time, get to know your people, ask them questions about themselves, their day, their goals, their aspirations. And again, see them more as a complete human as opposed to the set of hands that comes to do the work.
Yeah.
That
Connect.
Well,
and I think too, it's fun. You brought that up. That was a thought I had earlier and I just forgot, was it doesn't take much either. And you said that, but I think it's worth, because people are like, oh, okay, now I gotta like have
another
therapy
thing
sessions
I have to do
and get people in and just find out what their day's like. No, honestly, it is the smallest things. And I always used to say this, like on our teams in, nonprofit world, church world, was like, hey, it's like trust and these things are earned in pennies, not like dollar bill, like
consistency, not intensity.
Consistent little deposits. And I know that's just transactional language, but you know what I mean? Like really consistent pennies into a relationship.
The transactional thing seems to resonate given where we are now. And so if we can make this relational stuff a little bit more transactional, and that like, no, you should invest in this.
Yeah. And I think too, and I always had a rule, and this is somewhat arbitrary. But it was like, hey, like for every, one, withdrawal, 10 deposits, you know? And again, this was an arbitrary rule I created just for myself because it's so much easier to withdraw from people than it is to deposit. For whatever reason, even just in our relationships, our spouses, our friends, whatever, it's so much easier to think of this as what can I get? What can I get? And so connect, simple, really simple things. How are you doing? Asking that question and actually meaning it. And not then having the proverbial like,
how you doing?
Hey, it's like, okay, that's actually a question, but we've made it a statement.
Yeah.
How do we? Yeah. Go ahead.
But the thing is about that, in that, not only the effort to be able to connect, but it has to be genuine. You have to genuinely care. Because it's so
people
easy.
can smell that coming from a mile away.
Yeah.
Easily.
Dude.
Oh,
and the young.
Tell me, Richard, how's everything?
Yeah.
Oh, huh? What were you saying?
What was that?
Yes.
Lightning round practice. One that I find to be really supportive. It's very easy for people in leadership positions because you're busy.
Yeah.
You're busy. Naturally you're busy. For another episode, another podcast, some other time, like, what are you busy doing? But taking some intentional time to helicopter up and look at what's happening contextually in your workplace. So when you go into meetings, it's very easy to dive into the content of the agenda of what we're talking about and getting involved in the problem solving, but really taking some time to be intentional about observing the culture, the behavior, how people are interacting in meetings, how people are treating each other. What is the general tone, tenor, and vibe of this workplace? At a 10,000 foot level, are things going well? And genuinely, as the leader, I just want to go. I'm going to attend this meeting, but I'm going to very quietly sit in the corner and I'm just going to observe human behavior. I'm less concerned about what's going on. And I don't think leaders do that enough. Where they're just, I want to have my finger on the pulse of my people. Not the pulse of my business. That you have demonstrably shown you can do.
That's good.
Do I have the finger on the pulse of my people?
That's great.
And
but that's a great paradigm shift.
Yeah, it is a theme here. It's not that hard. It is really just, I'm going to take this time. I'm going to look myself in the mirror, whatever you have in the office, do like a little selfie cam thing and just say, you're going to stay out of the discussion. You're going to stay out of the business. You're going to stay out of the problem solving. You're just there to observe. And listen. Listening through the hallways. We do this sort of stuff as we're walking down the hallways. Super unsafe, by the way. We do. We do that stuff, and we bombard ourselves with all these inputs about data points and bottom lines and metrics and news and trends and blah blah blah. There's this input overload. Take some time to quiet that stuff and just feel what's happening at your workplace. And then go and ask people to make sure that
based on your observation.
Based on my observation, here's some of the things I'm seeing. Let me touch base with some folks. Let me validate this. Let me ground this assessment that I'm making to make sure that I'm not, because we can convince ourselves of we're pretty good about convincing ourselves of just about anything. But if we really take the time to look at the context of how things are happening, we can get some really good data points about what the real world is.
What is really, what reality is actually happening as opposed to the one that we've conjured up that's probably not actually true.
And so the rosy colored glasses on.
Yeah, and I think, really to wrap all these thoughts together, you said, hey, it's connect with people, like be thoughtful, like, hey, and I think in order to do that, almost you do need a helicopter up. You need to go up a little bit, get some perspective, understand what's going on here, and then do something about it. Make a plan. And I think you said something, and I think this is a great way to start and probably a segue into other episodes, but you said, hey, instead of putting your thumb on the pulse of the business, get it on the pulse of the people.
Yeah.
And because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are going to drive business.
Well, it sounds even cooler when you say it.
Well, I just heard it. I love it. I think this is a great place to kind of stop, and we'll segue into, because there's 1,000 segues we could go. Yeah. Honestly, I'm already like, the juices are flowing. I know.
Ew.
It's like
it is warm in here.
It's the Matrix, the 011s. And so, hey, we're wrapping up, but before we wrap up, we want to kind of just keep you guys in the know of what's going on. First, we talked last week. We're going to keep talking about it. Go CultureStoke.com. We have the culture calculator. It's a free gift. We want to give you guys. It's going to be just awesome. Marty, again, just 20 seconds if you can. Explain to us again, what is the culture calculator? Why is it valuable? And how can they use it as a means to help, push people or their business or whatever in the right direction?
Yeah. The why behind the culture calculator is oftentimes with marketing and other types of departments in organization, you have clear numbers to validate your decision. Yeah. Hey, if we spend 50,000 here, we can make 150,000 downstream. Easy
Metrics.
breezy. This gives a very clear way to be able to demonstrate what is the value of investing in your people and culture.
Yeah.
How much money can you save? How much money you can earn? And it's not an either or equation. It's we can save money, but we can also increase productivity and boost our bottom line. So this gives you an opportunity to input details around your company size, your average salary, your turnover rate to calculate what that looks like within your unique
as far as like
organization.
A return could be on those things. And so go to our website, CultureStoke.com. It'll be right there. You'll be able to see it and grab it. You just have to give us your email. That's it. And then, we want to give you that because it is really valuable, and it is just a great kind of segue.
It's
for a
the
lot of
business
people.
case.
Yeah. It's the business case. And again, we're kind of buttoned up with the fact that we have to speak in that lingo a little bit. And, our hope as we continue to stoke the flames of change.
Nope, don't like it.
I don't like it. I hate it. As it was coming out, I knew it was wrong. No, but really, we want to meet people where they're at. Yeah. We don't want to
have to.
And that's what leadership is, right? Like leading anybody anywhere isn't like running 12 miles ahead and then yelling back, you should come hang out with me. It's like, no, it's grabbing the hand and saying, all right, guys, there's a better future. I'm getting so like aspirational here, baby.
Bring it.
But really grabbing the hand and say, hey, we can go. So there's another place to go. There's a better place. Let's go there. And so, hey, let's be people. And let's be intentional. Let's be thoughtful.
And let's live better lives and build better businesses.
Dude.
Yeah. And I think it's important to honor the journey. Yeah. I think you mentioned it at the very beginning. We've been brought up this way.
Yeah.
But just because something is doesn't mean it has to be.
Yeah.
So we can really lean in and say, hey, I want to make a change.
Yeah.
And by the way, not just for your people, for you.
Yeah.
Because when we say happier people, we don't just mean the people who work for you. We mean you too.
We mean you.
Very much.
We mean you.
No, I love that. And I think that is such an important thing, is that it is a journey. And I think attitude in that, this is the last thought that I had, attitude, we have a tendency to be kind of like, burn it to the ground. Like, this is all garbage. And I'm not saying, yes, there's opportunity. And we use that word very intentionally here. Yep. Opportunity. We're not saying destroy the pillars. We're saying, hey, there's some foundation issues, guys. There's cracks in the foundation. And hey, but that was beautiful. So again, I think we're not trying to be anarchists here.
The bones are good. The house needs work.
Yes. And I think that attitude, though, is what will allow us to see this as opportunity, not problem at the end of the day. And so with that, that is the end of the episode. Marty, Wes, cheers.
Salute, boys.
To another day of stoking culture. And as we always say, and I'm going to say it, I don't care. As
Don't
we
sing
always
it, bring
say,
it, homie. Let's go.
Culture Stoke. Happier people.
Better results.
Yeah, baby.
Thanks for listening to the CultureStoke podcast. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and rate us wherever you tune in. Share this episode with anybody who could use a culture boost, and visit CultureStoke.com to grab your free culture calculator. Until next time, keep stoking the fire.